Now, without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to our guest speaker tonight, Mr. Johnny Lynum. He is an active duty Air Force, right? Go Air Force, right? Thank you for your service, Johnny, number one. Number two, he is also a father of three, right? And also an active real estate investor. And in addition to being an active real estate investor, he's also a published author, right? His book is called Millionaire Real Estate Success Strategies. So tonight he's going to take some of that book, some of the stuff that he wrote in the book, and transfer it to you. So I hope everybody has their pen and paper ready. Johnny Lynum, thank you again for coming, man. Appreciate you taking your time from your family to give us some information, encourage us, and help others to invest wisely.
Awesome. Thank you for the introduction, Lawrence. Glad to be here, man. Most definitely. I think everybody give yourself a hand for being here tonight. I think, just showing up is a lot of the fight. And when you start talking about the habits that successful people have and, to become a millionaire real estate investor, to secure that wealth, that generational wealth, I think the biggest thing that you can do in your life is show up. And so I think that's one of the things that to definitely pride yourself on that tonight. But what we're going to talk about as I bring the slides up here is really just my story, but not necessarily so much about my story, but what happened during my experience to get where I'm at now in real estate investing that you can take and apply in your own personal situation in order to level up and to kind of take things wherever you want to go, because real estate is really, it's a pick'em game. You can really decide. I think one of the young ladies was talking about storage. She learned about a whole new asset class. And so I think that's one of the things that I really like about real estate is like there's different lanes. There's multiple ways to get there. As the old folks that I grew up around say, there's multiple ways to skin a cat. Not really, literally thinking about that, but there's many ways to get to where you want to be in life. And, this is one way. There's plenty of ways to build wealth. Real estate is just one asset class, one way to get there. And I'm going to just share some principles that I've leveraged over my life and that I've seen others use, and then kind of how that pivoted me from single family investing to multifamily, but then from there, where we are today. And then I think we have time for some Q&A, right, Lawrence?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
Cool. All right. So Johnny Lynum, grew up Lower Alabama, graduated from the University of Alabama, rolled tide, joined the Air Force. After that, I've been serving in the Air Force for about 17 years now, active duty. So I have a degree in electrical engineering, but done a whole lot of different jobs from working on aircraft to leading billion-dollar software development programs for the Air Force, and now kind of operating more in just upper management these last few years. And just as I get nearer to retirement, as what they do, as you kind of get more senior. Wrote a book last year, Millionaire Real Estate Success Strategies, what they forgot to teach you in school. Stick around tonight, and I'm actually going to give you guys a link where you can download that and get a PDF copy to take with yourselves. But I'm a real estate investor too. So I built a business. We started that back in 2015 after picking up a couple of rentals, and we've been running ever since. And it's been a marathon. It's been a gradual process to get to the point now where we have a $6+ million portfolio, a little bit over 35 units. I'm talking a little bit about the 18 unit that we bought in 2020. A little bit about the 40 unit we have under contract right now down in Montgomery, Alabama. And and just the journey itself and just that whole process, what that looks like. So Operation Restore is our outward facing company that we work with our motivated sellers, primarily in the Panama City, Florida market, but also in Birmingham and kind of growing across the state of Alabama as we continue to focus that in. And then Operation Invest is kind of our one lane or our pillar that focuses on education, but then also on raising private capital when we start looking at doing more multifamily deals. How many of you have heard this? You can drop a one in the chat. Just this kind of cliche that's saying, get a good job and save your money. Have you guys heard that one before? I got another one for you. Work until you're 65 years old, retire, and then really start living at that point. So when I grew up, that was the knowledge that I was working off of. It was like, hey, you're gonna go get a government job, you go get a 4-year degree, and then you're gonna go and start saving a little bit of money, save 10%, pay yourself, and then you get 65 years old, you'll have a pension and you can retire. I know, and a lot of things have changed since then, whereas that this really worked when you could go to the mills, you could go to the car plants across the Midwest, and you could get a high-paying job. You could work overtime, double time, working for Chrysler or Cadillac, or for a lot of General Motors or the steel mills, and you could make 65, 70,000. You could make a really good career off one breadwinner and raise a family. And so, but the game has changed, and we all know that now, whereas that a lot of times, 3-4 years on a job is like, seems like for eternity for a lot of people. As we now look and see how the game has changed, we no longer have a lot of pensions. We most employers, they match your 401k and want you to leverage that to provide for your own retirement. And we know that way will get you there, but there's a different way to get to real estate, to get to where you want to be at the end. And for me, that was real estate. So started off, graduated 2005. That picture right there is my first property that I bought using my VA loan. That was my vehicle to kind of get me jump started. I didn't have a lot of capital. I didn't come from a rich family or anything like that, but I was able to leverage my VA loan benefits, bought this property. I actually got a check for $300 at closing. And it kind of changed my whole mindset. And I talk about how, coming out of college, my credit was jacked up. I had to have a family member sign on my lease to get in my apartment, start my career, which was super humbling. And over that 10-month period, I was able to get my credit together. And when this opportunity came up, a buddy found a deal. He moved into one side. He told me I should probably join and move in on the other side. And we made it happen, stepped out on faith. I was like, well, if I'm gonna be paying $300 less than what I'm paying for this apartment in rent, and then I can keep it and rent it out when I leave, then I was like, okay, it sounds like a good deal. And they're gonna actually give me money back at closing. So I was hooked. Still was faithful to the Air Force, was all in on serving, moving around a little bit, and was really loving the job. But at the same time, I was simultaneously going to meetups, consuming all I could on Bigger Pockets, finding more and more information about real estate. Along the way, this picture here kind of represents one of the peak of my career, as I refer to it, where it's just being able to serve abroad in Afghanistan for 6 months and kind of leading the team there. And this time really, it honed in on one of the best times. I could say once coming out of this job, the next couple of years when we started fixing and flipping, it was a sad time because it was like nothing really going sit behind a desk really didn't appeal to me anymore. It was like it was something that was always missing, being able to be in the field, lead troops, being able to have that instant impact and results but going and riding the desk every day really wasn't appealing to me. But looking at these principles, I was able to take these principles that I picked up during this time frame and bring it to my real estate investing. And I still stick with this framework today, even as we transition from single family to multifamily. And when it comes down to it, with whether you're going in from no units to doing your first fix and flip, to getting your first rental property, or to go from single family to invested in multifamily, or if you're just going from no doors and you're going to try to go and take down 100 units, I think it all comes down to your belief system, your mindset. And a lot of times people don't realize that, when you think about it, faith and doubt are both beliefs, but it's all about what you choose to focus on. Do you focus on the positive result that you're seeking, or are you focusing on the negative result? Because little do you know, by focusing on that negative result, you're probably going to end up achieving what you don't want to happen. And I think that's one of the biggest things that I was able to take away, was to kind of step out on faith. And that picture there is that first property that we flipped. And to this day, it's probably still the most extensive renovation that we've done, with no prior real estate and flipping or contracting or handyman carpentry skills, none of that. But just going in, having faith, building the team as we went, being able to work and leverage the skills that I had got in the Air Force for leading diverse teams. Whereas they now, like, okay, if I can lead this team, if I can lead software development contractors, I can lead contractors that's building a house or putting a house back together. And so that was the process that we went on. We stepped out on faith, and we made it happen. And now, lo and behold, years after that, 40-something transactions later, and just the framework that I was able to put together has allowed us to scale up in ways that I didn't even believe in When I first started this journey in 2015, we're actively fixing and flipping and buying houses and all the different strategies that you can use from whether you got a lot of money or whether you got no money, but being able to broker deals in order to build wealth and become successful at real estate investing. And so with that, when I go back, when we talk about, that time when I was in Afghanistan, we looked to find, fix, finish. The war on terrorism, we find them, we fix them, we locate on them, and then we finish them, calling the guys to finish them. And so I was like, that whole methodology, that whole process, I ended up bringing it to real estate investing. So find, fix, finish. We find the properties, we fix them up, and then depending on how we want to do the disposition on our execution on the back end, we get rid of it. Or we're going to refinance them and we're going to execute the burst strategy. Or we're going to flip and we sell them, and then we're going to buy multifamily with the capital from the flips. And so whatever that strategy is, you have that flexibility to move within this framework. So I'm gonna kind of walk you through that a little bit, then go into our first multifamily deal. But for the fine side of it, it's marketing. And this is applicable to single family and multifamily. Is marketing. It's just simply, this is the lifeblood of our business as an investor, or whether you got it as a side hobby, whatever you're doing, that you have to get good at marketing. And you don't have to be all things to everybody, but you got to get really good at 2 or 3 things. Whether you're going to be sending out direct mail, or whether you're going to be networking with brokers every week or realtors every week, or whether or not you're going to be cold calling, or where you hire somebody to do this. It all comes down to being able to market and be consistent at whatever it is that you do, whatever lane that it is that you're going to choose to do. Be consistent, show up, and good things are going to happen. And I think that's the biggest thing that kind of walked through as I made this transition and went on this journey, because it wasn't always, straightforward, immediate success. That a lot of times, especially like with direct mail, you got to touch people 6, 7 times before you get a decision or before you hear somebody. But a lot of times we send 1 or 2 postcards, or nobody's interested, nobody wants to sell. But little do we know with marketing and with that industry, that nobody makes a decision on the first time that they receive something. And a lot of times, you may send it month 1 and everything's good. But month 6, when you send that letter, her husband just passed away, who was managing their 10 units that they had. And now on that 7th month, you send your postcard, it's a whole different environment. It's a whole different ecosystem that's surrounding that deal, that's surrounding that individual, because life has changed and life has challenged them. And now we as real estate investors, our job is to be able to be marketing when they need us, that our marketing is there in a timely manner, right there, top of mind. But what if we had stopped at month 5 and we never mailed them again? And now somebody else comes in, could be their first time they're sending mail. Like, hey, yeah, we've been sending you mail every month, because that's what I'm saying on my mail. Because they don't know a postcard or a letter. They think we're all the same. So, hey, when I start, I'm like, hey, I know we've been mailing you for the last 6 months, but I'm back in front of you. I want to let you know we're still buying. And boom, we're top of mind. But I think at the end of the day, we got to put ourselves in the seller's shoes. What challenges are they facing? Are they divorce, probate, code violations? They have been paying taxes? Are they pre-foreclosure? Did someone just pass away? Did the water just get turned off on the property? Any of those things are all indicators of life challenges that they're going through. What help do they need? What support is out there? Are there other organizations that can help them along with us? Whereas that we can help with the car, but maybe we need to point them to an attorney to help them go through the probate process. Or maybe we have to help them with a moving company because they got to move, they got to sell the house. And, and just really understanding, okay, what side of town, where do they live? Where's this distress happening at? Where are these people that need to be helped? Where are they at? Because that's where you need to go. You probably don't need to go to the most expensive side of town where they're not having any challenges. They're not seeing any distress. And I think wherever the distress is, that's where we need to go, whereas that we can provide value and help those in need. And at the same time, by helping and providing value, us in return as real estate investors, we're going to be rewarded on the back end. But these are some of those challenges. We just kind of walk through those that's kind of laid out. And Lawrence and I can share the slides, copy the slides with everybody that wants to go through, that may want to key in on some of these things. Because a lot of these lists and this data is all free. If you just got to know where to go to the courthouse and get this information in order to be able to leverage it. So fix. How do we go about fixing these properties? It's the same methodology on the single family side, on the multifamily, but it's just more doors. It's the same thing. Each unit has a refrigerator, stove, a kitchen, a bathroom, maybe 2, an air conditioning unit, and a water heater, and paint, flooring, front door, windows, and a roof. And so when you break it down at the lowest level, this is all, it's not a whole lot. It's just more numbers and a little bit more money. But at the same time, it's the same functions that's happening, but at a bigger level. And I know a lot of times we start talking about project management and organization and just picking up those skills that a lot of times it can be overwhelming, or even any of these pieces of the process can be overwhelming if you don't have the knowledge. And I think that's the biggest thing, where is that understanding where you fit into the whole spectrum of what you want to do in real estate investing, but know, especially on the multifamily side, that you can have a team around you to fill in those weaknesses that you have. Find a piece that you gravitate to, whether it's raising money or whether it's the project management, maybe it's investor relations, or maybe it's the acquisition side with finding deals. But understand what excites you, what makes you, feel comfortable, and at the same time that you're good at. Whereas that now when you partner up, you can partner with somebody that has the opposite skill set. Whereas that now you make a complete team and being able to take down multiple deals, to be able to have a whole team. Whereas that now you don't have any weaknesses as you move forward together. And I think that's one of the things that, as a real estate investors, that we continuously need to be focusing on growing ourselves, on learning our trade, with picking up different skills. Whereas that we don't necessarily have to be great at everything, but we need to at least have a top level knowledge about it. Whereas that we can be functional and still be able to execute and be able to work at a high level. Project management fundamentals. So really being able to set clear goals. I know I heard a lot of people saying that right now they're flipping, they're going to single family. Are there things that you could do on the single family side to make your business more automated, to make your business more streamlined, to be more organized? Whereas that now you have your single family business going and it's automated, where you're not working in your business, you're working on your business. And now you can pivot and be strategically working on the multifamily side simultaneously, and taking that profit from your single family business and buying multifamily assets and all the tax advantages that come with it. Now you can supplement that and wipe out with your depreciation. You can augment other active income from the flipping side and just create unique strategies all centered around real estate. I'm not a CPA. I recommend you talk to your CPA, but there's great things you can do with bonus depreciation with multifamily and being designated with the IRS as a real estate professional, whereas that now you can take passive losses from multifamily and apply those towards your active income that you may have from your W-2 job or from flipping houses. So definitely talk to your CPA about that, but that's some of the strategies that you can work on. Manage your risk. Establish a performance baseline. That's basically say what you're going to do and then measure your performance at actually doing it, managing the schedule. Establish and maintain healthy communication. Communication is extremely critical for you and your team, but also for you leading a project, because whether we want to know it or not, when you're on the single family side or multifamily side, you're a leader, hands down, because you're in charge of this project. You're managing risk. You got to lead the title company, the attorney, the seller, the contractors that's doing the work, the property management company, your investors. Everybody's looking at you to kind of lead this project and bring it all together. And so the more that you're able to work on yourself, the better investor that you will be. Because as you continue to build those soft skills with communication, negotiations, being able to be a leader, being able to have more emotional intelligence, whereas that you can go into a conversation and hold your emotions back and understand what's the bottom line, what needs to happen with this project, and being able to move it forward to completion. And then really upfront, just really clearly defining those team responsibilities, laying it all out in the operating agreement, whereas that now it's no surprises. Everybody knows what they're on the hook for. And now we're measuring success. We know what those key performance indicators are, what we're responsible for. And now we're just measuring as we march towards success. Contractor estimates, super important. Always get multiple estimates, whether you're on the single family or multifamily side. We're going through this right now. We're pivoting to Montgomery on the multifamily side, and we have a preferred contractor that was introduced to us, but we still need to get two more estimates, regardless of that. And it's fine. It's not disrespectful for them. It's business, and it's to be able to hold them honest to their expenses and the cost, and be able to move forward with that. Really having a detailed statement of work and just being able to work through understanding what is being done, what needs to be done to the property, and making sure that both you and the contractor understand it. What materials are they doing? Do they want to put granite in there, or does it warrant? It doesn't warrant having granite in the units. Can you get by with black appliances versus stainless steel appliances? Do you need vinyl plank floors, or maybe in your market, do you want to go with carpet? And so that's just the trade-offs that you need to have between materials and the finishes in the unit. Whereas that now, as the investor, you're making sure that you're not over rehabbing a property, whereas now your expenses are high because you went $2,000 per unit higher than you really had to, which is based off the comparables in your market. So there's something to look at. Schedule, your payment schedule, how you're gonna pay the contractors, how much money they want up front, what's the period that they want to be paid. Is it weekly after that at 50%, 75%, and then the rest after you do the final walkthrough? And then just understanding how you want to work change orders. When there's changes to the statement of work, they tear down a wall and they find termites or whatever it is, additional scope that's added. How do you manage those change orders? And then lastly, finish. Flips, that's self-obvious. You're going to buy, add value, then you're going to sell it to a retail buyer. The burst strategy, where you're going to buy it, renovate it, rent it out, refinance it, and then you're going to repeat, do it again. And which I love the burst strategy, whereas it's a great way to build wealth, to keep assets, and continue to pull your money out when you don't have a whole lot of money trapped in your deals. Or you can just buy straight rentals. A lot of people just like to buy turnkey and do those lease to own. We're actually executing a lease to own right now, where we bought one, sat on the market for 3 weeks, didn't get any offers. And so I told my agent, hey, let's just make the house lease to own. They buy for the price that we want to sell it for, give them 3 years to purchase it, and they give us 5% down up front right now and pay us $2,000 a month for rent. And so that's another strategy with the market slowing down, whereas that if you're buying in the right neighborhoods at the right price point, that you have multiple exit strategies, whereas that you can still rent the properties out, cash flow, and keep moving on. And doing subject to, I think subject to is going to be a big one that comes up, especially on the single family side, but also on multifamily side too. Whereas that now you can take over existing debt and have that moved over to you. You take over the payments and you keep trucking along, and then you refinance at some point in the future. And it just gives you a lot of flexibility on those exits. So that's that fine fix finish framework that kind of I leveraged to kind of go and move through the single family side of things from 2015, 2020. Still use it today. I'm based out of Northern Virginia, so all my Virginia, Maryland people, they came out in masses tonight, Lawrence. But that's super cool, and I definitely got a link over with them. So I live out in the Leesburg, Virginia area, out in Loudoun County, is where I'm based at right now. But all my flipping activity is down in Panama City, Florida, where my primary business is that site. And then we're pivoting. We got a couple jobs going on in Alabama, and then primarily on the multifamily side in the state of Alabama, Mobile, Montgomery, Birmingham, and Huntsville, with that focus. So my first multifamily deal, it was unique in a way, just how we did the finance. I didn't know what I didn't know. In this time, we bought this one in June of 2020. And during that time frame, when you go back to 2019, I tore my ACL right when we were picking up our business. And it was a crazy story, whereas I was deployed in 2018, had to lead the family. I found out my wife was pregnant, went on one baby appointment 2 weeks before I actually left to go overseas. So did that, came back, worked on the business while I was deployed, came back in September of 2019, 2018, and got back ready to go with the business, all hard charging, got my postcards going out, hired my first virtual assistant, and boom, less than 4 weeks on the ground, Hurricane Michael hit. Category 5 hurricane, devastated Panama City, Florida, pushed us out. We were not stranded, but we were displaced for 6 months. We were moving around Airbnbs on the beach with a newborn baby. Our son, Jace, he was born 5 days after the hurricane hit in Mobile. And, super, super traumatic event to the area. And I thought, man, what happened, God? I'm like, I thought everything was lined up. We were set up to go. And little did I know, overnight, we had thousands of dilapidated houses in our area. We're still, to this day, it'll be 4 years in October, and we're still buying houses that were damaged from Hurricane Michael. And so that's the thing where we are right now, just the opportunity that happened with that, to fast forward to this multifamily deal. Because after I tore my ACL in 2019, I'm big on learning and knowledge and attending meetup events and things like that. And so I hadn't done anything since probably that springtime. And so I went to a multifamily event, the first ever multifamily event I went to, Jake and Gino down in Orlando. And this was October 19, and my mind was blown about just how attainable multifamily was, because I had a limited mindset. You know, I was stuck with single family. We were doing really good, doing 9, 10 deals a year. And but I was like, okay, wow. I was like, it's okay, 20% down. I'm like, you could do $1 million deal. You just need 200K, and you can raise money. You can partner. And I'm like, okay, because at that point I had done everything by myself. I hadn't had any partners on any of the deals. We're just kind of going through one at a time and just building up. Started raising some private money, promissory notes from family and friends as we were doing more of single family projects. And so I got back. When I got back from that conference, I was motivated. You know, the guys I had networked with, I was like, hey, we're gonna be accountable to one another. I'm gonna give myself a year to get a deal. And little did I know, I got back 45 days later. I submitted my first LOI on this property here for $1 million. It had been listed for 1.35 million, had been on the MLS a little bit over 90 days, 18 units built to 85. And the units were about 750 square feet, all 2-1s. And, you know, and it was funny that this attorney, Kim Smith, that she had wrote a book, and I bought the book. And so as I was going through the process, I was like, okay, and all, by the way, this was March of 2020, you know, when we went under contract. We all know what happened in March of 2020. COVID kicked off, things started shutting down. You know, some of the investors I had talked to, you know, their law offices were closing, you know, the stock market crashed. And so overnight, a lot of people's situation changed. So, you know, for a lot of people, investing was off the table. Like, man, we're trying to survive out here. And which, you know, true enough, that's where the focus to be. So no love lost on that. But like, but we got this 18 unit under contract. I got to close. And so it was really cool when I read through the book that with the deal that I didn't necessarily have to give up equity to limited partners with the deal, that I could just raise debt. And so that was one of the things that I did, you know, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But, you know, I did a basic Excel analyzer, did my expenses, and came in. I was like, okay, if I get this at $1 million, there's no way I can screw this up. I'm accounting for my expenses and everything. I know we can definitely probably manage this at between 45, 50% expenses, and it's gonna cover the mortgage payment. And so I'm good. And I had a relationship with a local credit union. If you don't have a local credit union in your back pocket that you're on good terms with, go make that relationship. Local credit unions, community banks are phenomenal for the reason that they keep their loans in-house, and they literally have a board that votes on whether or not they approve their loans. And so you got the business development guy, you got a couple of VPs, and maybe one other person that's voting. And when you have an advocate go in there, the business development guy, he told me, he's like, yeah, you did all the underwriting, you brought me your spreadsheet, you gave me the market analysis, you laid it all out, you pretty much did my job for me. And he's like, so when I go into the boardroom, I'm like, hey, yep, Johnny's got some single family loans with us, he's got experience, and the deal works out. If I vote that we fund, and they literally just raise their hand and they vote on your loan, and your loan's approved. And it's just that easy. Whereas that they approve your loan, like, yeah, as soon as the appraisal comes back, we can close 3 days later. And you know, it was mind blowing just going through the process on multiple times, buying plenty of single family homes, and just the process, sending statements. You got to verify this. We want to see all your leases. We want to see, you know, the purchase hub for this property, and just they go take you through the ringer over and over again. Whereas it was none of this stuff. You send in your documents, your statement of your income and your portfolio, and that was it. They didn't ask for no bank statements. They didn't ask for all this, you know, scrutiny. So we want to see all your leases and everything and treat you like a third world citizen. So I definitely encourage you to kind of go through with the banks, and I'll talk about this. So we ended up getting this under contract for $1,050,000. Here's the LOI that I sent to them and kind of laid it out. Got that from one of my people that I did work with at the Jake and Gino event, and they sent me an LOI that they had used before, and we got to roll. So we got the due diligence, had an inspection, got that done. When we pulled up on it, we already knew, but at the bottom right corner, you can see it was a gaping hole in the street full of water. So they had to drop $31,000 on rerouting all the water to the units. And so that's what you see with the excavator there on the new water lines going to each one of the units. So that was one of the biggest things that held us up as we were going through due diligence before we could close. And along that time with COVID and everything, he gave me a little bit more time to figure out how we wanted to go about financing this property, and which it worked out. And so the way that we ended up structuring the deal on the debt side, The debt service was 840,000. So 80-20, 80% loan to value. It was a 15-year loan term, 25-year amortization, a 5-1, whereas that it reset every 5 years to prime rate plus 0.75. And right now, initially, we had a 4% interest rate. And so the as-is value was, it appraised at 1.2 million. And so we went in with about 150K of equity from day one. And we took over an insurance claim too, which was unique about this. Still, this had a lot of hurricane damage still, whereas they had brought 10 units online, but they still had one building that they would still need to bring up. So that was 4 units that was down, and they had the other ones that were coming online. They were in the process of leasing up. And so we knew that going in. I had went to another local meetup, and the investor there was saying how with these hurricane properties, because a lot of people, they were being paid off, taking the money from the insurance company and just walking away and selling the house as is and not putting it back into the property. And so one of the things that he started doing was taking over the insurance claim at the closing table, just a 1-page document from the attorney saying, hey, they're going to assign all their benefits and rights from the insurance claim to you as the new owner. And so I knew that strategy. And we did that with this property as well too. And it ended up working out where we ended up getting $40,000 for renovation for those 4 units, plus a $10,000 of loss of use for the rents that came along. And so for the down payment, I didn't want to put all the money down because that was going to kill my single family business with the investing side if I had to bring all that capital to the deal. And so what I ended up doing, reading that book that the attorney wrote, the syndication attorney, that I could raise second position debt. And so what I ended up doing, I ended up raising $95,000, and I paid them out 7% annual return on a 2-year note, gave them quarterly payments, and I had the possibility, if I needed to, a 1-year extension in there. And then I was at the refinance milestone because I knew I wanted to keep it. I didn't want to sell this asset because I'm all about, building generational wealth and just passive income. And I gave them a $20,000 share of the equity. And so we went through, I paid my SEC attorney $5,000 to draw up my private placement memorandum, my subscription agreement, the operating agreement for the company and everything. And so what I ended up doing was I partnered up with 2 guys. One of them, the one that got 18% of the equity, he raised $75,000 of that $95,000. So he raised that. I gave him 18% ownership of the company. And then I had a college buddy of mine that came in with 20,000. And I gave him 5% ownership of the deal. And so that was the 3 GPs. We came in together. Then the rest was second private equity with the 95,000 not equity, but debt, the 95,000. And then I had to bring the remaining balance with the 110 to the closing table myself in order to get the deal done. And I think with that, and that's the other thing, with credit unions, the closing costs are super cheap. The closing cost for this deal was like $13,000 on over $1 million loan, which is unheard of when you start going through mortgage brokers and dealing with, with other entities with closing. Operations, so once we closed on it, I self-managed for 6 months. Did that because I knew I had the PCS in November or leave and transition to the Air Force and come back up to Northern Virginia. So we left November 20. We got the insurance claim that I mentioned. Rent collection rate over COVID, we were still kind of hovering around the low 90s for its collection rate. We only had 2 residents that were impacted by COVID. One of them subsequently, after we went into a month-to-month lease, and the property management company said, hey, yep, you're not paying, that we're going to actually ask you to leave, that she magically came up with like $3,300 in 3 days to catch up her rent because there was nowhere else for her to go because there wasn't any supply in Panama City with the hurricane damage, so there wasn't a lot of renters. And so she magically came up and got all the rent in 3 days, which was interesting. Had a cost segregation study done. So we had $170,000 depreciation loss the first year, and we remodeled those 4 down units. It took us a year to get that money from the insurance company, that $50K, to do that. And so we had to come out of roughly another $20,000 to bring the 4 units up. And then there was some deferred maintenance as well too, that over the last 2 years that we had to do, replacing a couple of air conditioning, fixing leaky windows and things like that. We refinanced actually earlier this month, August 3rd, we refinanced the project. We came in 70% cash out refinance. Our payment went up to $5,900 a month. They pushed our amortization out to 30 years, and we still got a 4% rate, which was amazing in this rate environment. It was funny, they honored this. We got delayed with filing my taxes, which pushed out the refinance this long because we had got up to 100% occupancy early on in the winter, probably about January or February. But with the tax filings and all that stuff got delayed. And so I was sweating bullets because rates were going up, the rate environment. And on my refinance on the townhouse, they quoted me 5.5%. And but community bank relationship and the grace of God that my banker said, hey, I told you 4% back in February. You're good. When you get your everything filed, just let me know and we're running. I'm still going to honor the same 4% rate that I quoted you back then. And the appraised value came in a little bit above that 1.34 that had quoted us on the appraisal 2 years earlier. It actually came in at 1.76 million on that. And we were able to pay our investors off. And then we were able to pull out a little bit over 300K from the property, tax-free with the deal. So that was definitely a good news story with the 18 unit. What's next for us? You know, we still rolling on a single family business down in Panama City. That's going virtual. Op Magic City, that was in Birmingham. I partnered up with one of my coach's students on that flip earlier this year. That same coach's student actually found a 40 unit that we have under contract down in Montgomery right now. Operation Double Down, that's a duplex we just bought a couple of weeks ago down in Mobile, Alabama. So the marketing is starting to pick up there across the state in those different areas that we're targeting, and we're moving along. On the multifamily pivot, kind of talked about that. We got the 40 unit under contract, 16 2-bedrooms, 24 1-bedrooms. Right now, we actually negotiated the finalized price. We walked it last Tuesday with the inspection, and we were negotiating on Friday. We followed up today. So we were originally under contract at $2 million. We settled at 1.925 after, you know, a lot of the CapEx that came out that we wanted to do to kind of work through. So we got 75,000 off with the negotiation with that. So that was awesome. And we're a little bit less than 50,000 a door now, but the market rents are great. So this was part of the Alabama subsidized tax credit program, whereas that the first 30 years that they couldn't raise rents past a certain amount. One half of the units come out of that program in November this year and the other half in June of next year. And so right now, 1-bedrooms are renting around $500 and the 2-bedrooms around $600. So it's a nice rent bump that'll be able to come up with raising rents here over time over the next couple of years as we execute the business plan. So what does it take to be successful? So what does all this mean to you and where you are right now as an investor? Because at the end of the day, this is all good. Everybody's journey is different, but I think there's some success leads some clues along the way. And you'll be able to download a copy of my book. But I kind of, as I went through interviews and, you know, and just talking to other successful real estate investors and really just other successful entrepreneurs, there were some things that always came around. And I think, you know, that your daily habits, your daily disciplines are what's going to produce prosperity in your life. You know, whether it's your mindset, you know, showing up an hour each day that you're dedicating to your trade craft, with being a real estate investor, whether it's getting up, you know, you're doing the marketing, whatever those things are, for you to be consistently doing those daily disciplines is what's going to lead you to success. Faith in your ability to achieve the desired results. Mindset, you know, more than 75% of this, I think it was not Jim Rome, but what's my guy's name? His name is escaping. It's gonna come to me. But you know, faith is your ability to achieve the desired results. Psychology, 75% of this, at least, is just psychology, your mindset, your positive attitude that you can actually go through and actually accomplish whatever it is that in your life. That's the only thing that separates, you know, people who choose to do and those that don't. It's really the mindset. They say that you're gonna do it. Yeah, come hell or high water, it's gonna get done. It's plan A or it's plan A because it's gotta work. And I'm dedicated to the results to see it through. And I think that's the same thing that you have to go through, that at the end of the day, you got to understand that there's nothing that separates successful people, Elon Musk, Bill Gates. Yep, a lot of the environment has some impact on it, but just the mindset. There's plenty of people who've been made millions and multi-millions and created businesses that didn't have, you know, a lot of money growing up. They stuck it out. They figured out how to add value to people's lives, and the marketplace is going to reward you. And it all starts with the idea. When you think about the iPhone with Steve Jobs, that it all came from an idea. You know, the computer that you're looking at, the house that you're living in. Like, God didn't give us houses. He didn't give us iPhones, but he gave us the ideas, the thoughts in order to go and create. You know, he doesn't give us tables. He gives us trees, and he gives us the wisdom and knowledge to go take that tree and turn that tree into a table. And so that's the thing that we have to understand, that all this stuff starts with an idea that, hey, you wanted to flip that first house. It started with that idea. And from that idea, you started going to figure out, okay, this is what needs to happen in order for this to go forward and to come to fruition in my life. So I think that's the biggest thing that you need to know. You need to recreate yourself. Everything that you have done and accumulated in your life and gotten to this point has been a byproduct of what you have given yourself by way of knowledge and understanding. But in order to go to another height, to become another person that achieves that thing that you want to achieve with becoming a successful multifamily investor, whether that's 100 units or 1,000 units, that you're going to have to recreate yourself, because the person you are today can't be that person that's going to achieve that. You're going to have to continue to grow. You're going to have to stretch yourself. You're going to have to do things that you haven't done. You're going to have to maybe wake up a little early. You may have to go to sleep a little later. I don't know what that is for you, but you're going to have to do some things different in order to receive different results and to receive success in your life. And then lastly, you got to take action. We all know what we need to do. We got all this knowledge. At no point ever in the span of earth in this creation have we had more access to knowledge, but yet we still perish for the lack of knowledge. We have all this access on the cell phone, and we have it right here at our disposal, but we don't act on it. I'm a true believer. We don't need any more information per se. We just got to take action. We got to take and be a good steward of the information that we have today in order to move forward. Because you can go out there and Google a lot of things, but one thing that you cannot Google is experience. And the only way you're going to get experience is by taking action and moving forward on your goals. Get off the stage with a quote: disruption always follows intention. Be ready to embrace the suck. That when you look at an aircraft when it's taking off on the runway, it uses about 20% of its fuel to get off the ground. It's going to take a lot of energy, a lot of momentum to get off the ground in your life and where you are right now to go to higher heights. So know that, and when it comes, be ready to embrace it and know you're on the right path to where you need to be. For those that want to get a free download of my book, take a picture of this. I'll drop the link in the chat, but socialproofwealth.com/free. You can get a copy of my book there, Millionaire Real Estate Success Strategy. If you want to get a physical copy, you can get that on Amazon as well too. But yeah, just something I always give whenever I speak. I want to give people opportunity to read the book and just be inspired, because life is what you make it, and everybody has those seeds of greatness in them. It's just a matter of tapping into it, because I'm a true believer that if you take an oak seed, you could put one inside the sunlight in a seal, and you can put one out there in the water, and 20 years from now, that one that's sitting in the seed, that's sitting in the window frame, it has the same potential as that one that grew into that large oak in the backyard. But it was the environment. It put itself in the right environment where it could be nurtured versus just sitting there on the sideline. Both of them are a tree on the inside, but that one actually realized. And so that's the thing that I think we got to realize is we have greatness within inside of us, but we just got to tap into it, put ourselves in the right environment, and go take action. And then this one, just a complimentary coaching session. Coach Ivan, I'm a professional coach with the agency that I work with, the Defense Intelligence Agency. So I'm a true believer in coaching, but this is a complimentary coaching session with Coach Ivan. If you're interested in trying to level up and figure out, hey, what's the right strategy? How do I get on the path to not necessarily just real estate, but just how do I get on the path to achieving my greatness? Then I think this would be a great, take a picture of that. That's a complimentary coaching session. I got something worked out with Ivan to take care of that. So that's for those that want to take advantage of that maybe want to help get some clarity on their goals and how they want to move forward, that you can take advantage of. And I think that's it, Lawrence. That's all I got. I'm on social media, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Operation Invest Now. That's my website there. And this is a family business. It's a team business with everything that we do, and have fun along the way. You only get one chance at life, and you got to make the best of it and go make some equity happen and go make your dreams happen. I'm Johnny Lynum, and yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Johnny.
Excellent.
Man.
Thank you.
Excellent presentation, brother. Excellent presentation.
Excellent.
Can you stop sharing the screen?
Mm-hmm.
Can you stop sharing the screen?
There we go.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome.
Awesome presentation, brother. Awesome presentation.
Awesome.
So I have one quick question, right? What made you want to write a book?
Man, so it was crazy. Only then a colleague of mine from a last duty assignment had wrote a book, and I commented on her post of like, hey, congratulations, I want to look into that. And the professor for her program saw my comment and chimed in and like, hey, we just launched a cohort a week ago. We still got space. He like, you can come and join. And I came up with every excuse. We had just moved here to Northern Virginia. I was like, man, I'm trying to run my business virtual. I got, get my family settled. I got 3 kids. And all excuses. I'm starting a new job. And my wife pushed me. She's like, you can do it. We'll make the time. And it was a 10-month process. Super hard. I lost my mom along the way. Almost quit, and just kind of went through, man. But it was a blessing, and just to really see and just talk to people that's been blessed by it, that and it pushed me to start coaching as well too, and just to, being able to pour into other people. That's what it's all about. And so that kind of got me into the program. And if anybody's interested in writing a book, that Creative Institute is based out of Georgetown, and I think it was like $500. That they got a lot of donors and everything. You have an editor that helps you walk through the process, and it super cool experience.
Nice. Okay. Thank you, man. Thank you for that. So, Desmond, there's a question, Desmond.
Awesome presentation. Thank you, Laddie, and thank you, Johnny. I know you said you managed for 6 months. A couple of questions. Did you hire management to help maintenance, contract maintenance, security? And what were some of the add-ons did you do? Like laundry? Was there available laundry or anything like that?
Okay, no, great question, man. So I was a little unique. I was doing the flipping, and so I had like my contractors that I primarily work with, and we've been together now 3.5 years in that area. And so they do a lot of the maintenance work. The property management company will send other vendors if there's certain stuff. Like if they're bogged down on the flip, then I'm not gonna pull them to go to the apartment. So they'll work with their vendors. We didn't do a lot of extra upgrades. This is a C-class property, not too far from the Air Force Base. And we didn't really, each unit has its own washer and dryer unit. So we really came in, we put in some external lights. We turned the original units on. We had, they already had replaced the roofs after hurricane. So there wasn't a lot of additional CapEx that we had to do to bring it online, and like security really wasn't a challenge or anything. So I think that was really it. So we leveraged, my vendors that I had already to do most of the work when we have stuff to come up with the maintenance.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else has a question?
Hello.
Yeah, Sherry.
Hi. I'm sorry that I'm driving, so I can't turn my camera on. But I just want to say that the presentation tonight, I think, was just sent from heaven. To be quite honest with you, the speaker, everything that you said, I could not agree with more. And I want to give a testimony, because in just this past week, and Lottie, I think I told you I was going to a conference in New York City. The last time I was on the call, I was going to the Diversity in Commercial Real Estate Conference. So I flew up to New York. It was a faith trip for me. And I said, when I go to this conference, I'm going with intentionality. I did my homework. I knew who exactly I wanted to talk to, who was going to be on that panel. And I made those contacts. And so I went to that conference 2 weeks ago on a Thursday. It was Thursday through Sunday. I stayed up there a little bit longer because my son is interning up there on Wall Street. And I got back home Wednesday night. Thursday morning, I immediately started making calls to the contacts. This was last Thursday, guys. Last Thursday. Today is Tuesday. I have raised $1.5 million since Thursday to go towards my projects.
Wow.
And I'm almost in tears because I spoke to a contact at the conference, and I told her I was looking to, because I'm a real estate investor. I have projects going on. I have excellent partners, and I'm looking to scale, right? And so I spoke with a woman on Thursday, and I was thinking too small. And I told her I was going to look to make an acquisition of probably about 500,000, right? And so she told me what I've learned is that these players, they want to do big. And when I say this conference had the players, I'm talking about all of us in one room, the highest levels of developers and investors looking to make deals. So she told me that they only do deals that are over $1 million, right? So I said, okay, thank you. Just give me the contact to the small business center that does the smaller deals. So lo and behold, I continued making contacts this week, and I have not only raised $1.5 million, I have also partnered on storage. Storage is a cash cow. Ran into this dude at the conference. We immediately connected, and we're in partnership with storage. This man runs a $100 million company. Okay, I'm signing a contract tonight in partnership with him on storage facilities. I live in Florida. So my husband and I, we took a road trip to go look at some property Sunday. And let me tell you, the thinking small will get you nowhere, because there's a property that we went to look at, $1 million property. And my husband, he just didn't understand what I was telling him. I said, I'm going to find this $1 million. I got to come up with this $1 million. And he was smirking like $1 million, that's a lot of money. I said, I got to find this money. As of today at 3:30 p.m., I'm sitting in my office. One of the people I met at the conference, I paid for this man's Uber drive. This man runs a multi-million-dollar finance company. He told me he only does $5 million deals. He told me today, for me, he will back my deals with $1 million. And he said he's going to bring me more money than I ever imagined I could handle. Let me tell you, God, when you put your mind and you focus, like the speaker was saying, that's why I know he's sent from God, because your message is confirmation. And all the tips you ended this presentation on are so on point. I spend time in this business every day. I'm a corporate executive. And I spend hours a day working on this real estate and making contacts and talking to people. And you have to be very clear on what you want and what you're asking them for. And when you ask, and if you're a believer and you have faith, and you ask in faith, God will open those doors. I'm pulled up on the side of the road here because I'm shaking, because I can't believe I'm going home to tell my husband that I found these $1 million.
Breathe.
Thank you, Sherry. Thank you.
Breathe.
Thank you. Thank y'all for letting me give that testimony, because I hope it encourages someone. Because this brother who did the presentation, you spot on. I just you blessed us tonight. Thank you. Thank you, Lottie. Thank you, Lottie, for this meetup.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you for coming on. Does anybody have any questions? So I'm going to ask the other questions, right? I'm going to ask, okay, Eric, please turn your camera on. Angel, halo. I know. You can put the halo on, Angel. That's how it works. You know that, and I know that. A hard time. Okay, everybody. Hey, hello, Bright, Gavin. Put your Justin. Is this your Justin, Angel? Okay, just checking.
Hello, this is Bright here.
Okay, Bright, good. We're gonna take a picture. So please.
Yeah, I do have a question.
Yeah, Bright. Hold that question, Bright. Hold the question. We're gonna take a picture right now, right? Everybody, smile. Look at the camera. Smile. So beautiful 2032s. Thank you kindly. I'm waiting for Sherry. Go, Sherry. Put it on, Sherry.
I had to pull over because I was shaking so much while I was driving, telling y'all this story.
Well, here we go. 1, 2, 3. One more time again. Even those just got back to work again. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. Get Bright with your question. You're on mute.
Yeah, so my question is, I know he said he is in somewhere Virginia and he's doing buying multifamily in out of state, right? So how do you do that? Because I'm looking at doing that now, like I saw a property in Ohio. I'm in Maryland, and that would be my first multi-family property, 18 unit. But I kind of got scared because I didn't know how to put a team together, how to get a broker out of state to work for me, and then attorney and all of that. So I wanted to hear a little bit about how you went about putting together that out of state transaction.
Most definitely, most definitely. And it really starts. The team works out of it, having the boots on the ground, whether aligning yourself with somebody there. So one, you got to find somebody there. If not, you got to go there. Take whether it's over a weekend or a couple of days during the week. You have that flexibility. I encourage that, and really just for its Facebook groups. Leaning on your network, find who's in your network that's on Facebook, LinkedIn, that's in the area, that's real estate investors that can give you referrals for those functional areas you need for it. Your property management, contractors. If you need a title company to kind of work through that side, whereas that you can get referrals to from other investors there, that you can do that, and then you could go there. You can get your estimates in person once you got under contract and walk it. You can kind of call, set those up where they can come there on site with you. You can have a couple of interviews with property management companies, get a feel for them. Ask the right questions, and and make it happen. So you go and maximize that time on the ground to kind of build that team out with everybody that you need, and you really just got to align yourself with professionals that know those areas and kind of bring it all together. To do it. So it's always good to have like somebody that on the ground. Like for me in Alabama, I have a strong network there. I got coaching students there that I can leverage, that I teach my fundamentals, my process. And so now they can be my eyes and ears and kind of run point on a lot of those things that I just mentioned. And, so it's really, but, when I started off in Birmingham doing after we did our first fix and flip in Virginia, we started virtually flipping in Birmingham. And I literally, back when Craigslist was a thing, got a bunch of vendors online. I set appointments, hey, I'm gonna be there Saturday. Come through, walk the house with me. And my realtor got me in there. And I got quotes for everything that I needed. And I just kind of built my team up after that deal with just kind of getting different estimates from people and just kind of going from there. So it'll take a little time to get boots on the ground and just some networking in that local area, but it's definitely doable.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for the question, Bright. Thank you for the question. Anyone else has a question? Okay, so I'm
This is Brian.
Go ahead, who's that? Go ahead, Brian.
Brian. Yeah. Hey, can you elaborate when you were talking about the community banks and building that relationship? As far as, what does that mean?
Yep. So I think really, it really just going in and having having something prepared about your LLC that you're doing business, whether it's one page about your business plan, and I can send a presentation. If he drops his email, I can send him like my about me, about my company, whereas it has like a picture about our business plan, our strategy. We focus on value add. Just, hey, these are some articles I've written, and just kind of, it helps them understand who you are and then what asset class that you're looking for, and you're trying to build a relationship. So, go in with just your business plan, and then it doesn't have to be anything elaborate, where it's just a page or two about your company and what you're trying to do. I definitely recommend opening up an account with them, and that way that you kind of establish that relationship. And so now when you go in there is a name to go with a face, and not necessarily just you coming in with a loan, but you want to go in and kind of establish that relationship with them before you find a deal, whereas that now it's different. And then they can impact that, as I kind of spoke through, because their rules are a little bit different since they keep their loans on their books and they don't resell those mortgages on Wall Street or anything. Yeah. So those local community banks, those local credit unions are going to be the ones to kind of look at. And not all of them have like a commercial real estate loan product. So you definitely want to look for the ones that do have like commercial real estate loans. And then that'll give you that leg up.
I have a question with the credit union loans that you got. Were they recourse loans or non-recourse?
Yep, they were recourse.
So how do you have that structured? Do you have them under different LLCs?
Yep. So yeah, each individual property would be its own LLC. And because like with me, I try to do like more joint ventures than true syndications with GPLP splits. And then that way, each operating agreement is going to be different. It may be different partners in the deal. And so it would be an individual LLC for each one.
Now, Johnny, while you're here, there was some, you were using some terms before, right? There's some people here who are new to real estate. So
Okay.
you talk about LTV and 25-year amortization in your slide. What does LTV mean? What does that mean?
Yep. So loan to value. So that's just the value or the purchase price that you're buying the property for. And so the LTV is, so that percentage is going to be just a percentage of that price. So if you're buying it for $1 million and you're going to have an 80% LTV, then that means your loan is only going to be, your loan is going to be $800,000 or 80% of that purchase price. So, if it could be 70%, which then it would be 700,000. And so that means that you need to bring $300,000 down as a down payment to make up that difference for the purchase price. Is the LTV. Then the amortization is just the period that you're going to pay back. So those payments could be spread out over originally we had a 25-year amortization. So that's just them taking that amount of that loan, that 800,000, and spreading it out over 25 years. Or 30-year amortization, they're going to spread that payment out over 30 years, which is kind of what you see with a traditional 30-year mortgage on your single family house. That is usually amortized 30 years or 15 years is usually the two that you primarily see on the single family side.
So the same question there, because you said a 15-year loan with 25-year amortization. So explain that too. Like I said before, people here just getting started.
Okay.
Understand.
Yeah. So the term. So even though they spread the payments out over 30 years, the term is only 15 years. So at the end of the 15 years, you're going to have a balloon payment for the remaining balance. So that's what it is. So when your term is less than the amortization period, so if it was a 30-year term and a 30-year amortization, then they will coincide. And so that last payment will pay it completely off. But with a 15-year term, a lot of times commercial, some of those, their products won't go out past 15 years. So at that point, with 15 years, you're going to refinance, you're going to pay down the apartment considerably. Rents are going to go up. The value is going to go up. And so that's the time you can refinance it to a different product. A lot of times you'll see with some of the loan products in the commercial space only like 5 years or 7 years for the terms. So 15 years is kind of the max, but you can get some 30-year terms for like some of the Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae loan products, that there are some commercial loan products out there that'll go all the way out for like a 30-year term.
Okay. So just for those, a balloon payment is where at the end of the term, you got to pay it all off, what's left on the loan. That's a balloon payment. So go ahead, Des. Got another question.
Yeah, one of the things you said earlier with your initial capital raise for the 95, you are giving them back 7% annual, right? And then when you did give them back the return of investment, not return on investment, you gave them back their return, their investment, and then you gave them 20, you said 20,000, I think it was equity.
20,000 of the reflip of the equity.
So they still have equity in the property.
No, so then once their loan was paid off, I added that 20,000. So now they had a 17% internal rate of return or IRR.
Return. Okay.
Yeah. So that 20K was to kind of sweeten the pot for them at the end. Once I paid them off, where it said they got a good return. So basically over 2 years, they made 34% return.
35. Okay, gotcha. Right. Nice.
Angel.
I guess I kind of have two questions. On the bank debt, because we're looking at that also. Can you get loans that are both LTV and LTC or just LTV?
It's usually one versus the other, depending on which one. A lot of times they say which one is less. So based off they can go out the value or loan to cost, and then just depending, like I see a lot on the hard money side where it's like, okay, we'll do up to 75% loan to cost or 70% LTV.
Okay, and I guess my second question too is on the bank loans, what kind of coverage are you getting? Like when we were looking at agency on the property we got across the finish line in December 21, we could have gotten agency, but it was only going to give us like 60%. And so we wound up going with a bridge that was like 75 or 80% LTC. But is the bank debt going to be greater than 50 or 60%?
I think it all depends. But most of that I've seen with the credit unions that they're always kind of, well, here lately they've been around 75 to 80%. But like,
Okay.
who knows 6 months from now, depending on we go into a recession, if the economy changes and things like that, the credit access to credit can start drying up, and a lot of the loan to value that they reduce those, and so it may, where the max you can get is 60% loan to value. They want you to have more skin in the game. And bring more money down.
I wanted to hear you say that recourse was enough skin in the game and they were going to give me like 80%.
Yeah, and I think that goes with it, with that relationship and the experience where they feel comfortable with you being able to execute what you say that you're going to do with the business plan.
Mm-hmm. All right, thank you.
Yep.
Sorry, go ahead, Bright.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask if you have a place you find your multifamily deals. Do you have any? How do you find them?
I think it really just brokers, and then wholesalers. I think it's really just runs the gamut of the network. We're sending out text messages, cold calling, as well as networking with brokers in the area that we're looking at, and then watching what comes out on the MLS. Not really doing anything with LoopNet, but really finding brokers that have stuff on LoopNet and reaching out to them to see, hey, if you see something else, we want to see it before it goes on LoopNet and be kind of on your short list. So I think those are some of the great ways to get the deals, from just going direct to owner, but then also network, because a lot of the good brokers, they're cold calling. We were working with some in Alabama. They were like, they're on the road 2-3 days out of the week. They're going meet with apartment owners across Mississippi, over to Georgia and Florida trying to get properties under contract where they're working doing deals. And so I think that's the biggest thing, is finding those brokers. They've probably been in the business for a couple of years, that's hungry, that's trying to establish themselves. If you can align with some of those type of brokers, that'll be really good. The ones that are real motivated versus the ones where they got a lot of business that just comes to them because they've been in it for 30 years. They got their set list of people that they push to, and it's kind of on autopilot from them.
All right, thank you.
Good, Sherry.
Hey, so I have a question, Johnny. A comment first, as a part of a response to the question that was asked, and something that I learned, where you get really great deals. And another testimony is that a contact I made at that conference is actually in private equity, and revealed that the best deals that you can possibly get are through the private equity firms, and especially if you have a lot of equity that you're bringing to the table as well. And he's going to open up his resource of private equity portfolios to me. And so anybody who wants to kind of tag along and look at some of those things, I'm open to that. And then secondly, I wanted to ask you, Johnny, when you described starting your fund, with your syndication, because that's what I do, raise money, private placement. So you determined, you said you used an attorney to do the paperwork, et cetera. You determined that you needed to formalize it in that way to take down your deal with, versus just doing the JV, with your partners. Like, why did you choose to go that route?
So that's a great question. I went that route just because I knew that I wanted to have everything just for my paperwork, SEC compliance, to have all that in place. And I knew that I wanted to have it structured properly, whereas that for the capital that was raised, that it was separate from, the equity, whereas it wasn't, they weren't share owners. They were essentially were acting as the bank. And whereas that we know that the bank, when you get appreciation or the equity, they just had a loan and the debt. They don't participate in the appreciation of the asset. And so, and I wanted to structure it that way. And just going through with the SEC attorney, they filed the exceptions. They made sure they created an operating agreement. Even with my two partners that came in, they helped with the raise and kind of take care of them, but then also have the subscription agreement, the private placement memorandum, just from a liability perspective for me, whereas that everything's fully disclosed to the investors, just as if they had been limited partners in the syndication. Everything's fully disclosed, the risk with the asset, with the investment. So it's all laid out. So God forbid something did go sideways, that I could be really held liable. That everybody kind of knew that there was risk associated.
Would you mind sharing who you used, your attorney that you used for that?
Sure. Yeah, I can share that information. Yep, it was Three Pillars Law out of Castle Rock, Colorado.
Okay, Three Pillars Law. Okay, all right. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I think that they may have gone up on the price. I know I got the veteran discount with mine.
Timing is everything.
Yep. No, but Brian was great. He walked me through the process. That was my first one, and kind of went through, and it all made sense. But yeah, I got nothing great things to say about them.
Okay, thank you. That's an excellent resource.
Well, Johnny, I want to say thank you very much for coming on tonight. Thank you for an awesome presentation tonight. Thank you for the knowledge you've given and poured out to everybody. Hopefully everybody's going to drink from that cup, right? So once again, thank you for coming on. And next week, everybody, looking for everybody to come next week. And everybody have a great evening.
And Lawrence, and I would say too, for those that's like looking for multifamily deals, that if you want, I do kind of operate kind of as a key principle, depending on the loan size or run by deals yeah, I'm fine with partnering on deals as well too, on like smaller multifamily. We look at 40 and below units, primarily across the Southeast Texas, all the way up to Virginia. So if it's something that comes across somebody's plate, like, hey, would you be interested in this? Definitely, by all means. We have some cool relationships on the money side to do some value adds. So
okay, that sounds great. I'm gonna give you a call. All right. But once again, I thank everybody for coming tonight to Financial Independence, to Small Multifamily Investing. I'm just going to stop the recording here, but we're going to have a breakout rooms after the recording's finished. So Johnny, once again, thank you for coming. I appreciate you taking time for your family. And once again, everybody, thank you for attending Financial Independence to Small Multifamily Investing. Thank you very much.